If you end up getting indicted, that'll get assigned to a judge probably randomly, unless you already have an open case in front of another judge, then it will go there if it's in Fulton County. You are here with your lawyer, Mr. Melnick, who filed an entry of appearance not all that long ago. And Mr. Hiles is handling the bond motion for the state. So all we're doing is talking about bond. My ruling is not you're guilty, not guilty, or anything like that. It's just, yep, bond makes sense, or no, bond doesn't make sense. And the question of bond will stick with me until you get indicted. So I may say, I'm going to set a bond at X, and a month from now, you're still in, you can't make that bond. Mr. Melnick may knock on the door and say, Judge, we got to talk again. That number you set was too high. It's not realistic for Mr. Anfield and his family. I may say no bond, in which case people don't knock on the door till you get indicted. Okay? Mr. Melnick, welcome back, and I'm ready to hear from you.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Your Honor, Mr. Anfield is 18 years of age. He was enrolled in high school on the date of his arrest. He was arrested on February the 18th, or booked in February the 18th of this year. He was enrolled in Skyview High School. He lives in Fairburn with his mother, Tamara Anfield, who is present in court. If you will stand up for me, please. And his father, Xavier Jones, is present as well. You can stand up for me as well. He also has two younger siblings, ages 13 and 11, that also live at home, and that he helps his mom obviously care for. So, Your Honor, obviously you can see the nature of these charges. There's serious charges, but Mr. Anfield denies his involvement in what is alleged in the warrants, and that is a matter that we will take up as the case proceeds. It's my understanding from speaking with Mr. Hiles that there may be something in juvenile court. However, I've spoken about it with Mr. Anfield, and what he has told me is that it did not result in an adjudication of delinquency.
When you say something in juvenile court related to this, or you're referring to any,
another case,
I'll call it criminal history, but as a juvenile, issues where he came into contact with juvenile court?
That is correct, Judge.
Okay.
Yeah. In any event, he is not currently under any sort of supervision from juvenile court or anything. Obviously, he's 18, so he wouldn't, unless he had something that carried over, but that is not the case. So in any event, Your Honor, one thing about this case that really does stand out to me, you can see Mr. Anfield is young. He's a relatively small person. One of his first nights at the jail, his mom contacted me, and she was basically frantic because she said somebody had sent her an Instagram video from inside the jail of another inmate beating up her son. And she sent me that Instagram video. I have it on my phone, and it's an extremely difficult thing to watch, Your Honor. And I'm not here to, condemn or to call into question what happens at the jail. I know that there is an impossible task that's been assigned to the people at the jail, and limited resources, and that sometimes things happen. But he has been a target since he's been at the jail. He has had, unfortunately, not numerous, but a few people who have really come after him individually. And he was beaten pretty badly when he was at the jail.
Do you have a theory for that? Is it because he's young or small, or because he's in gang X and those guys are in gang Y, or everyone knows the deceased and so they're looking out for the deceased?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with the deceased. It has to do with the fact that quite often, in all honesty, Judge, if other inmates know that you have an attorney that your family has retained, the inmates assume that you have money and
put on their books.
Put on there, and that's exactly what's been demanded of Mr. Anfield, that his parents put money on the books of other inmates and such. So, Your Honor, what I'm asking you to consider in this case is a total bond in the amount of $50,000, that he be required to live with his mother, Tamara, and I have that address, if you need it, that he wear an ankle monitor, and that he be ordered to stay at home other than to attend school, because he is in his senior year of high school. He's on course to graduate. He's in the time, I mean, in other words, he's been on course to graduate from high school. He hasn't been held back. He just turned 18 on November the 19th. So, he's been on course with school. He doesn't work, but that's because he's enrolled in school, and he obviously lives with his family. So, Your Honor, that's what we're asking you to do.
Got it. Mr. Anfield, Skyview High School, is that the high school for the neighborhood where you live, or is that one that you commute to? Or tell me about that. I don't know that high school.
It's on Old National.
But is it is a Fulton County high school?
Yeah, it's like a GED school.
Okay. Is that, if I lived in your neighborhood, is that the high school I'd go to, or you're going there
No.
specially?
Yeah, I'm just going there because I'm trying to catch up.
Okay. Had you dropped out of high school before?
No.
No? Well, tell me how you ended up at Skyview as opposed to whatever high school you'd go to that's in your neighborhood.
I was going to Banneker High School. It's in College Park, I think.
Yeah.
I was behind on some classes, and they suggested that I go to Skyview.
Okay. So it wasn't that you got kicked out of Banneker for discipline or something. It was, this might help you do better and get the GED.
Yeah.
Okay.
They said if I go there, I graduate on time.
Got it. And is it an in-person high school or is it virtual?
In person, but we on computer all day.
But in the high school?
Yeah.
Got it. When you got arrested for this situation, were you living with your mom or your dad or somewhere else?
I was living with my mom.
So you'd be going back to the household you were in when you got arrested for this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And he was actually at home on the day that he got arrested. They actually came to his house.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Hiles, I know a whole lot less about this because the affidavit says person A shot person B, and that's it. Yeah. And so knowing that what you're going to share is simply allegations, sometimes it's more because it's, hey, on his phone was a video of X happening. A little context would be helpful, because the context that I've received from Mr. Melnick is we have someone with essentially no criminal history, not hugely unsurprising because of his age, but you and I and Mr. Melnick deal with 18-year-olds who actually have an adult rap sheet, and Mr. Anfield doesn't. So the picture right now is pretty murky for me. And if I have to, as I must, consider the ALA factors, he's got family, they're here, haven't been in trouble. So Mr. Anfield is starting to fit into those slots. Well, and you may agree.
Let me address some of those for you.
Okay.
I'm going to start with his juvenile history. So he was adjudicated delinquent by plea under case number 23DL02437. That was a petition that was filed on September 20th of 2023, and the final disposition was on November 15th of 2023. The plea was for a adjudication of delinquency. It was for possession of a handgun by a person under 18 years old, as well as misdemeanor obstruction of law enforcement officer. Judge, I want to speak to the, I know what was said to sheriff's officers in regards to the fights and the attacks on Mr. Anfield, particularly inmate Malachi Hill, who was a YSL member, spotted the defendant immediately upon being placed in the general population and blamed him for some shootings that occurred to YSL households outside. Now, I cannot validate any of that. Those were allegations that were screamed at or directed towards Mr. Anfield in front of other deputies. I don't even have police reports, but that's, and since that has happened, those 4 members who attacked him, who were all YSL, the sheriff has implemented keep separate orders.
But interestingly, Mr. Anfield wasn't jumped by just anyone. It was all, from your research, YSL members.
That's my understanding, and that he was he's a member of a gang called the 2200, which is a blood set that operates in kind of the South Fulton area of the county, as well as in predominantly Clayton County and a little bit in the South Fulton area. Judge, what led us here today was the murder of Mr. Chandler Carter. So to give you some more clarity as to what happened, Mr. Carter was on his way to work at the Amazon facility. Many of those Amazon workers take the MARTA train and then cross over towards Buffington Road for a trail that cuts through some wooded area and directly into the Amazon facility. Another worker who was on his way to work around the same time at that 3 a.m. shift noticed the victim's body lifeless. He shook the victim. When there was no response, 911 was called from a nearby gas station and officers came out. When officers responded, they were informed that most of the Amazon workers and the people who were on that particular trail come from the MARTA station. HD video was obtained from the MARTA stop, which showed 3 at the time unidentified black males follow the deceased victim, and then flock cameras showed them crossing flat shoals towards the area where the victim was found behind the deceased victim. Those 3 images of the 3 individuals that were following the deceased were sent to local police departments. Kenya Manson of City of South Fulton identified Mr. Anfield and recognized him as a member of 220 Gang. 2 Instagram accounts for Mr. Anfield were provided to Union City detectives. Union City detectives then looked at recent postings and taggings from Mr. Anfield to determine the identity of his co-defendant named Rashad West. Officers looked at Rashad West's account and saw a recent posting from a known apartment complex that had an actual number posted to it. Officers responded to that area where they made contact with Rashad West. Upon making contact with Rashad West, Mr. West admitted to officers that he, Mr. Anfield, and another individual that goes by the name of Draco robbed the deceased victim, I guess, on his way to the Amazon facility. Mr. West did state, though, that the shooter in this particular case was Draco, who was later identified as Drake Page. So that is what led us to here. It was my understanding, though, that it was the intent to rob the individual, that the 3 were following him. And there was a specific firearm that was taken from the victim that was told to the police officers. They said that after he was shot, that was removed from the victim's waist. I don't think they were able to get the rest of his property off of him because they were worried about people responding to the sound of a gunshot. Your Honor, in a quick cursory review of the Instagram returns belonging to Mr. Anfield, he is consistently displaying firearms, consistently reciting lyrics about robbing people while displaying the firearms, and consistently identifying himself with the Bloodset 220 Gang out of that South Fulton and Clayton County area. I do want to say that I always quote OCGA 1511-703 when I am using juvenile adjudications in asking for no bail, but it specifically states that the disposition of child evidence adduced in a hearing in the juvenile court shall not be used in other court proceedings other than proceedings provided for by Code Section 1615-9, 24-4-418, and as well as it may be used in the establishment of bail, plea negotiations, and sentencing in criminal offenses. Specifically noting the 1615-9 and 24-418. Those are also the statutes that allow admittance of juvenile adjudications to specific gang cases, which this is. So, Your Honor, based off of the facts of the case, I do think it is a strong case as it sits now. And though the facts themselves might not be part of bond, the likelihood of conviction and the sentence of associated with that conviction goes to likelihood to flee. So I would argue that bond should be denied because he is a risk to flee because of the seriousness of the offenses and the mandated life sentence should he be convicted of either the armed robbery or the homicide. As well as that he is a threat to reoffend based off of his own braggadocious nature on Facebook of what he likes to do, the display of firearms, along with quotes and lyrics that insinuate that he gets his money from spending on other people and or robbing other individuals. So essentially, I'm asking that he's a threat to reoffend. You find he's a threat to the community. He's a threat to flee. And I want to point out one other OCGA 17-6-1 F4, which if you do grant a bond on the gang statute, it states that the bond shall be of an enhanced monetary value solely based on the nature of the gang charge. So that's why I'm asking that the bond be denied. I do believe that the Carter family, at least one representative of the family is on Zoom, and if they would like to speak, I'll direct you to tell them when that's appropriate.
Okay, in just a moment. You used a term with which I'm not familiar. Did you say spinning?
Spinning, yeah. They're bragging about like spinning the block. Like that generally refers to driving around the block of somebody at opposition's territory.
Okay.
Oftentimes shooting up. It's just something that's was common in review of certain videos.
Got it. But your understanding, and everyone's understanding right now is very, very preliminary, is that this was a stranger on stranger offense, that Mr. Carter was not known to any of the three individuals you mentioned?
I don't have anything that would indicate otherwise.
Okay, but that the three individuals who were supposedly involved, Mr. West, Mr. Page, and Mr. Anfield, they all knew each other. Were you alleging that West and Page were also 220 members or just friends of associates of Mr. Anfield?
I do not have enough. There is some evidence that I think Mr. West is, and I haven't had a chance to talk with the lead detective and or any other gang investigations, so I don't want to insinuate one way or another.
So then why is there a gang charge in this case? If you can't link the other two, then Mr. Anfield, assuming for a moment he was acting in concert with those two non-gang members, what would make these allegations gang related?
Well, when you are on Instagram bragging of robbing other people with your with your gang front and center.
That part I get, but that's not what he's charged with. I'm just curious how, I don't want us to get too far out on a limb of the gang tree. If
whether you get, I think it still enhances the status inside the gang by committing these types of offenses at a minimum, subsection B.
All right. Is Mr. West in custody?
So he might be a juvenile. I got to look at this. I know Mr. West and Mr. Page were both arrested on the same date.
Okay, in connection with this, not for something
in
different.
connection with this. They were
Okay.
arrested in January. And
Page is Paige.
I believe it's PAGE.
Page like book. Okay, he was arrested and is in custody. And a judge found probable cause to bind over the charges. And same with Mr. West. Mr. West already has, they found probable cause as to him as well.
I do think that Mr. Anfield is scheduled this week, maybe Friday, for a prelim.
Okay,
I think it's Thursday.
Thursday, sorry.
that's an easy one to answer, but I just want to see where they just haven't had bond hearing yet. They must have asked to do it one had it in front of Judge Lethbridge, but perhaps Mr. West asked to defer that until the probable cause hearing. Anyway, and that would mean then that Mr. Page's bond is before Judge Lethbridge as well, because they went in at the same time. Okay. Yeah, the 13th is the preliminary hearing. Be in front of a new magistrate. They're rotating out. Not new to the job, but new to doing prelims.
Do you know who it is?
Judge Hughes.
Hughes will be doing the prelims?
From now on.
Okay.
Judge Brooks's last day doing prelims is tomorrow. Or today even. I think they rotate tomorrow. And it's Judge Hughes going forward.
I was just curious.
Well, there's your answer.
Yeah.
Your turn to respond.
So, Judge, I think that using or arguing that lyrics or what people post online is a specious argument at best. There's certainly no evidence that Mr. Anfield has ever committed what we would consider to be any sort of violent criminal offense in his 18 years. So just the fact that he may listen to lyrics that the DA's office or Mr. Hiles finds to be objectionable does not mean that he's any sort of risk to the community at large. It sounds to me like what the state is largely depending on is the statement of a juvenile in this case, which means that the evidence, I don't know what the evidence really looks like. He otherwise, Your Honor, meets the criteria for bond. In looking at Drake Page, I know that you had indicated that bond was denied for him. Obviously, I was not privy to his bond hearing. But he also, Mr. Page has...
So I want to clarify, I don't think either one of them ended up having a bond hearing. Two things. One, West is not a juvenile. He turned 19 a couple months ago. If West is the one who you are attributing the statements to?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, so not a juvenile. But two, what the docket shows is that they both, Page and West, had bond hearings with Judge Lethbridge. They were scheduled for that on January 28th, but there's nothing entered. And so what I'm guessing is because their prelim was right around the corner, sort of like with Mr. Anfield, they say, we'll come back to you, Judge Lethbridge. We want to have that prelim first to see what came of it. And they have since not petitioned Judge Lethbridge to have a bond hearing.
Got it. In any event, Judge, I think that Mr. Anfield meets all of the criteria for bond. As far as Mr. Hiles' argument with regard to the enhanced monetary aspect of the case, I think $50,000 is a substantial bond for most people to have to post. For going through most bonding companies, that means you have to put up at least $7,500. Oftentimes, they require other collateral, such as property. We are asking, or we're submitting, that he will wear an ankle monitor, so that eliminates the argument related to risk of flight. And Mr. Anfield has otherwise He has strong ties, and I don't believe that his history is anything. What I was going to point out is Mr. Page apparently has a hold from DJJ based on whatever interaction he may have had. You know, I'm not here on his case necessarily, but there is no such hold for Mr. Anfield. So I would ask that you grant bond accordingly.
Okay. All right. Mr. Anfield. Oh, no, I need to hear from a family member or members of Mr. Carter. So is that someone who's here or is it someone who's online?
I believe they're online, Your Honor.
Okay. So whoever is on behalf of Mr. Carter, if you could turn your camera on and your speaker on, I'd appreciate that. We've got a Omari McKay.
Hi, Judge.
Hey there. Can you tell me who this is?
I'm Shandoria Williams. I'm
Hello.
Chandler Carter's sister.
Hey, Ms. Williams. Thank you for joining us. You said you're Mr. Carter's sister?
Correct.
Okay. What do you want to share with me about bond in this case?
Well, what the family knows right now is that we're missing an individual that was very live and active in our family. These three individuals committed a heinous crime. We as a family do not feel like they should be able to come home. We have emptiness right now, so we all feel like their family should feel the same. I get it, they're mad because their son is being beat in jail, but think about what we're missing at home right now. We don't get to say anything to our brother, our cousins. We're missing him as well. So I feel like he should sit there and think about what they've done. They robbed somebody that's innocent. He was going to work. He was doing what any normal citizen of America would do. And the fact that they took him away and then think that they can come home, I don't think it's right. Our family don't think it's right. And we think that he should sit there and think about it. And if he feels so strongly and so miserable about the position he's in, then go in protective custody. That's how our family feels right now.
All
He
right,
should
Ms.
not be able to come home.
Got it. I appreciate you sharing that. Can you tell me a little bit about Mr. Carter? How old was he?
20.
20. Okay. How long had he been working at Amazon?
He had been there at that point in time 3 months.
Okay. All right.
In August he had just been baptized at church. He wasn't a gang member of the community. He didn't do heinous crimes in the community. He was a great guy. We don't get to have nieces and nephews from him. We don't get to see him anymore. And the fact that he's gone, we don't get none of that. And the fact that this guy, Mr. Anfield, is begging to come home, I don't. If you do grant bond, I don't feel like $50,000 is enough.
Got it.
Ankle monitor is not enough at all.
Okay. Ms. Williams, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to represent Mr. Carter's family and sharing this. And I appreciate everything you had to say. There is, as you said, a hole that can't be filled. Mr. Carter is not coming back. And I know your family is grieving. Thank you
And
for
something has to happen to these gang members. Something has to happen to them. They commit violence in the communities, and it's almost like everybody is scared to do something about it. And at this point, we're tired.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Mr. Anfield, I was about to address you and I forgot. It's important that I hear from the family and you can understand why they're hurting. You stand before me with the presumption of innocence in your favor. Mr. Melnick was correct in saying these are allegations. Nothing's been proven against you, but the allegations are pretty serious. And there are a couple strands out there that make me a little nervous about setting bond at this time. One is, it sounds like you've gotten mixed up with guns before. You've got the juvenile delinquency where you had a gun and some encounter with law enforcement, and you were at an age then where it was a crime just to have a gun. And that doesn't mean you have a conviction. It's something that happened as a kid, but that's a data point I'm entitled to hear about because it helps me understand a little bit about your trajectory. I also note that I work with people, unsurprisingly, who are in jail all the time. And you are having a different experience in jail than a lot of them. And one of the things that Mr. Hiles shared with me about how you instantly drew the attention of some of the folks there makes me worry a little bit about what you've been up to on the outside. And about your safety on the outside. I know you don't feel particularly safe on the inside. I don't know that it will get a whole lot better on the outside after these charges that have been brought. And then finally, we've heard a little bit about how someone else who may have been involved in these allegations has decided it makes sense to step forward and talk about what went down. And that makes me worry a little bit about how you're connected to these things. And given all that, I'm going to start out with no bond. That's not necessarily a permanent ruling. I need to tell you a couple things. One, if you are not indicted within 90 days of your arrest, so that clock's already been running, you are absolutely entitled to a bond, and Mr. Melnick will get you back in here, my guess is, knowing him, on day 91. To say it's fascinating, Judge, that you said no bond before, but that's not an option anymore because Mr. Anfield has not been indicted. And then I will set a bond that will require you to live with your mom and be on electronic monitoring, et cetera. But I'm going to give the state the window that it is statutorily entitled to see if it can get its ducks in a row and move forward with an indictment. If so, then your case will go to a judge who can again talk about bond, and that'll be Mr. Melnick who's helping you with that. He will know more about the case because by then you will likely have had your preliminary hearing where more will be discussed about these allegations. It won't just be a prosecutor saying, well, I've heard this and I've heard that, but there'll need to be a detective under oath talking about what he or she knows, and your lawyer will be able to ask questions of that person. And if your lawyer is underwhelmed by what he hears, we get back together again. He'll simply say, Judge, I know a little bit more about this case, and we need to think about bond some more because it wasn't quite like what Mr. Hiles shared with me, which is not me saying Mr. Hiles has misled me in any way. He is reacting to police reports and what people are telling him. And your lawyer just doesn't have the benefit of having been able to interact with the officers who've been investigating this. But given the seriousness of the charge and the fact that really this bond puts you back where you were before all this blew up in front of you, I'm going to keep you where you are with one caveat, and that is I'm happy, Mr. Melnick, and you can talk with Mr. Anfield about this. I'm not interested in having him go to lockdown if he is the one who's being attacked rather than he's attacking someone. But there are other options that we can engage the sheriff with, whether that means going to a different facility. Some may be less good than where he is now, but away from where he is now. You know those ropes much better than Mr. Anfield does. So talk with him about that. And then just shoot an email to Ms. Nelson and me, and Mr. Hiles will be the point person. It may not be his case going forward, but he was here for the bond hearing. And then if I need to reach out to the sheriff to say, I'd like to consider, I won't order it, but consider having Mr. Anfield be in this place instead of that, by all means, I will take care of that.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll speak with his family about that too, Judge.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Have you been retained for the long haul or just for bond?
Right now, just for bond and prelim, but I've
Okay.
represented family members before, so I expect I'll be around.
Okay. But at a minimum, you're the person with whom I'll be dealing if it has anything to do with bond.
Yes, Judge.